Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Good day. Good day, mate.
We're watching Cobra Kai, my kids and I. We hadn't actually ever watched it. So
oh my, you know what? You just blew me away again, like you blew me away with the Wu-Tang last week, dude. Are you kidding me right now?
I haven't watched
Cobra
it.
Kai guy ever.
But we now binged it. My kids actually, this is the first show that my kids really wanted to watch all of it, and they're loving it. And so now we are
seen the Karate Kid.
Yes, but it's been a long time. We'll probably go back and watch it again. But so now we're up to date on the fourth season, the most recent season.
Okay, but good show for you. Not your kids would be Yellowstone, by the way. I just got turned on to that by my brother. And
I would like to do it, but I don't have
show.
Amazon. I've seen.
No, it's not Amazon. It's Peacock.
Oh, it used to be Amazon, because you know how I know it used to be Amazon? Because somehow somebody bought one on my account. I was like, what the fuck? Like they paid $2.99 on my Amazon account for
you can
an episode of
buy
Yellowstone.
No, you know what it actually comes on? It actually comes on AMC. So maybe like you can rent it on Amazon or something like that, but it's not an Amazon show.
Because it's what's his name? What's the main actor?
Kevin Costner.
Yes, yeah. So that's the show that I saw. I did like it. I liked it a lot, but I only got to see the episodes that some dude bought on my account. So I'm like, I might as well watch them. I paid for them.
You know, and he's probably in Montana too. He's like, I gotta watch this one. I got to see this.
I have no idea how that happened. It was super weird. I even tried to discount it, like tell them like, listen, I didn't buy this. They're like, no, you did. I'm like, no, I didn't.
Wait. Can I tell you a funny story really quick that has nothing to do with anything at all?
I love funny stories that have nothing to do with anything at all.
I have to get this off my chest. Okay. This is actually a confessional. You are now in the role of
good God, just tell the story.
Pastor/priest. Okay. So when I was like, I want to say 8, 9-ish, cable TV was fairly new. Like it wasn't all that, not like it is today, obviously. It was like fairly new.
I know.
You had
I never had cable. I had the antenna on the TV, and then you had
that's what we all grew up with. But
with like 4 channels, and that's it.
Yeah, my dad must have got like a bonus at work, and we got cable one month. So, so dude, I being at home sick one day, which is probably a good segue into like whatever we're gonna talk about, COVID.
Because everybody's sick all the time.
Yeah, I was home sick one day. And I discovered the exotic channels.
Oh, right? the Skinamax.
Yeah,
like softcore porn.
And I really feel like it was nothing like what you see today, like on the internet and all that. But I just know back then this was like full on, like, oh my God, like what's his thing doing? And anyway, so I ordered all this porn like all day long, right? And by the way, back then,
ordered it.
This is why it's funny. Trust me, this is hilarious. So you actually had to, back in the day, you had to call in to order anything. Like if you wanted to rent a movie, you had to call in and be like, I want to see Superman at 2:00, right? Well, I would call in and be like, I want to see big black butts all day long. And I'm like 8, right? So I ended up getting like pornography like all day long. And literally I was too young to even know where to go with this pornography at that point, okay? Literally just watching. That's how young I am, right? So, okay, fast forward. My dad gets the bill 2-3 weeks later, whenever he gets his bill, right? His bill's like $800 for, and it should have been like $30 for the month or something, right? Well, my mom and dad went back and forth with the cable company for like a day or two and ended up just basically getting like suspended from whatever the cable service was at the time, which I can't remember what it was for the life of me. It was like on TV or something. And so we could never get cable again. And we had to wait till DirecTV came out before we could get cable because I had ordered all this.
Did they ever find out it was you?
My mom will now know because my mom is an avid watcher of the show. It was me.
Oh, this is a confessional too? Oh my God.
That's what I was trying to tell you. Like, dude, literally, I kid you not, no exaggeration. This was probably 1986.
Oh, Francis, I'm sorry that your son was such a terrible child.
I lied my butt off, dude. Because, I came from the generation that actually got whooped and all of that. And I knew my dad was literally just going to actually peel my skin off my body.
I am really surprised. So you have two other brothers. They did not suspect that someone
at the time. So if I'm like 8 or 9, my older brother is like 18 or 19 because he's 10 years older than me. And then there's my other brother who's only 2 years older than me. The one that's 18 or 19 wouldn't even have been like around, right? So basically it would just been me and my older brother. And so basically I just had to I had to really just pull some skills out. Like, dude, I think they're messing with us. Like, what? Like, who would order this stuff? Like, are you kidding me? We are church going.
Hey, kids. Nobody want to watch that stuff, Dad.
Nobody wants to see big black butts.
Nobody
wants to see.
Sounds terrible. I would not even. If you put that on right now, I will shut my eyes.
You know what? I'm a good God-fearing 8-year-old. I love Jesus. Why would I order such a thing?
No, it wasn't me,
Nicole, I lied my butt off, and I'm telling you.
And just for our viewers, he has finally come clean after his dad has passed away.
Oh yeah, my dad had to go to the next world. I wouldn't even say this if he was alive. I would not say this if he was alive. Because you know what's really funny? My dad would, today, I am 44 years old. He would have been 75. He would literally be like, I'm so disappointed in you right now. He would literally just be like, I cannot believe it. All that I went through over that cable stuff. Because it was like a big deal because we got banished from cable for like 2 years.
You could write a memoir.
Nobody wants to read that. That's too emotional.
I will read it.
You would be dabbing your eyes. It would just be, you'd be like, I can't believe what Mike is he's so rich, like in terms of his character and where he's come, what he's been through.
His motivation is so strong.
All that porn, makeup. Listen. I just had to get that off my chest. I literally, Nicole, I promise you, I have never told that story to anyone ever.
Well, to our 63 viewers,
you just got some pearls.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And Francis, I'm sorry.
Mom, listen, Mom, just one moment, Nicole, one moment. Mom, listen. I was 8. I had lost my way.
Bygones.
I was homesick. I was tired of watching cartoons. I needed something else.
That's a big jump from cartoons to Debbie Does Dallas. There's nothing in between.
Is this live right now? Because I just got a text message. I just feel like my mom is watching this.
She can hear. She telepathically knows. She's like, that. I know something's up. I know something is up.
I have felt so dirty since then. Since 8 years old, I felt dirty. I feel burdened, like free right now. I just got a burden.
You cleansed. You feel cleansed.
I do. I thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So this is what it means when you repent. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell Jesus. Tell Jesus.
Well, I had told him.
Clean your heart.
Yes. But now I have confessed my sin one to another and
to me. And that's even better.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone who's like, I really don't give a damn, Mike, but who cares? Okay, let's go on with the show. I thank you for that. I needed that.
It's very cathartic. I'm happy to be here for you. Listen, that's so emotionally and heartfelt and wonderful, and it's so opposite of the trash society that we live in today. So let's just get right into that. Let's get into before we started, you were going to tell me that 2 people texted you today about what?
Oh yes. So I already have this information because I listened to talk radio on the way to dropping my kids off to school. But I guess or maybe you don't know, there's this new government website, I guess is being launched tomorrow, where you can order a shipping-free home COVID test. And they're supposed to be free in every single kind of way. You're not even supposed to have to give your credit card information or anything like that. And
listen, I need to say something really quick.
Oh boy.
Like, everyone's like, oh, the government's doing it for you and it's just free. What do you care? Bitch, that shit ain't free.
It's not
that
free.
Is our money. Do you
That's
see inflation going through the roof? Like, if they say it's 7%, it's probably really like 16%. Not fucking kidding. Do you have any idea what that's going to mean for our future? Like, this shit ain't free. This is our money.
You don't
okay,
get it.
but no, Karen, I had to do this.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I want to see a carton of eggs at $86. I want to see it.
You know what? You're going to.
I want to see a gallon of milk be $126.
Like people have no like frame of reference to understand like what we're doing to ourselves. And well, on top of it all, our government then, our Fed props it up in corrupt ways, and so maybe they'll razzle dazzle and fix it all, and great, good for you. But if they don't, we are in for some really hard times ahead.
Dude, I'm here for it. I want to see people making life decisions at gas pumps. Do I pay the rent or do I fill my car up? I want to see it. I'm here for it.
The sad thing is that we have enough that we don't see it now, but there are many people who already do. And not just because of COVID, before COVID, but there are more now because of the economic state that we've been through. And these are the things that I see that I feel like nobody else cares about, right? And that's why I'm shouting through it's just like, and then people just like, why do you care, Nicole? The government did this for us. Like the government's fucking benevolent and they care about saving us. That's our fucking money. That's our money. That's not their money.
Are you here right now for a Michael Moore fun fact?
Yes, but you didn't get to finish your story because I had to rage.
What was the story? What was I?
Free home tests.
Oh yeah, but that was pretty much it. It's just like everyone
now. Everybody in the world gets a home test.
Everybody's all geeked up for these home tests, and that's literally what I texted my mom, because my mom was one of the people who sent me the text. She's like, "Hey, here's the link to get a free home test," and I said,
"What do you need it for?"
You know what? Why don't I just read you the text?
Yes, please.
It would be quite interesting. Because I think she's actually upset at me or offended. She writes.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
And Frances is going to hate my, thought on all this. I am sure she does. But like, why the fuck does the whole world need one? Like, I don't.
Wait.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I need you to breathe and just Let me take the floor just for a second here so you can calm it down. She writes, order your COVID test now at the website.
No, bitch, no.
Mom, she said that I didn't and would never say anything like that. She's ridiculous. We're actually getting her tested for all kinds of psychological stuff, so don't worry about her. Okay. Then I write, everyone keeps sending me this link. Why do people think I'm so uninformed? And then I did a little laugh out loud face. Then I wrote, what's the big deal? I have no use for COVID tests, but thank you for the info. She writes back, okay, sorry.
I want to point to something. You basically said what I said, just in different words. You basically said exactly what I said.
That's why I wanted to read it to you, because I feel like verbatim almost said what you said.
You verbatim said what I said, just in different words.
And then she writes back, okay, sorry. And that's her way of being like, whatever, dude. You can keep that little attitude. And I'm just like, Mom, I'm just telling you, like, I don't have any need for a COVID test. Because if I had COVID, I would know, because I've had COVID. And if I don't have COVID, I don't care to stick something up my nose to find out if I possibly have COVID. I just don't get why people are so excited about a free home healthcare test. I don't get it, Nicole. I'm over it, by the way. I've told you this a million times, but like you and I have literally switched stations in life, because I used to be the one that was all into all the information on everything. And now I'm literally just like, I walk down the street and I don't know if a nuclear weapon is on its way to the United States. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, think about that example. What does it serve for you to know? Right.
That's the thing. Anything.
That's why I
notice this every day from my kids' school saying another student has tested positive for Omicron.
Exactly. It's the same.
And I'm just like, how does this help me in my life? I don't get it.
It doesn't matter.
My daughter was exposed again. Oh, like I can't do it anymore. I don't know what the right reaction is.
Feel the hysteria. There's no right reaction, but I feel as long as they are going to continue with the hysteria and the fear porn and the lies and the corruption, I am going to continue to point it out. And so that's my role in life right now. I don't want any other role. I don't want to play poker. I don't give a shit. I want to talk about this because I don't want another one of these next, because if we allow it, there's going to be another one next.
Listen, I had a physical response to all this COVID stuff lately. I literally just took a razor and shaved my beautiful beard off. I was just like, I can't take it. I just went,
it's COVID.
Yeah, I can't. No, I was just like, I didn't know what to do. It's either that or shoot myself in the neck. And I was like, nah, I want to live.
Yeah,
so
don't do
I
that
just cut my beard off. Yeah,
you wouldn't do
cut
that.
My beard off.
I can't.
But
no, because you're too scared of pain.
Blood.
So
Yes.
Yeah. No.
Not I love life so much.
No,
you're like, oh, you're just too scared of pain.
Yeah.
You know me a little too well. But listen, I just got so frustrated. It was in my mirror at like 12 o'clock one night and I couldn't sleep. And I was just like, I just don't care. Just take it, world. You can have it. It's beautiful. You can have it.
All these little face pubes.
Now I'm just like 6 o'clock sexy, you know what I'm saying? Bearded 6 o'clock shadow. But listen, this stuff, Nicole Juergens, is just it's just is there a place where we can write and just tell them it's just gone too long? Like, is there a box we can write to?
I do that with my school now. I feel like now is a good time and they'll hear me. I think I told you this last week or maybe not on air, but I'm writing a letter from the rational, logical, sane, non-exaggerated, non-hysterical perspective. And I think actually, like you and I talk about, there's a whole lot of us, I saw this really good Gallup poll this week, and it was about Democrats and Republicans. And it talks about there's actually like 20 some percent that are Democrat and 20 some percent that are Republican, but there's 40 some percent that are independents. The vast majority of us are independents, and by independent probably just means moderate, or I'm assuming that means moderate. I'm registered independent. That means moderate, and we vote policies over party, right? But you don't realize that because in our media, it's so polarized, right? And so we think the whole world is one way or another way. But the vast majority of us, which we have pointed out, but it's so hard to remember all the time, is in the middle. And is even keel and is non-hysterical and is logical and is able to actually look at data and make decisions. But we don't realize that, right? And so unfortunately, from the extremes, often the loudest voices come. And so that's why it's important. And often, unfortunately, I think, unfortunately, a lot of times the independents in the middle don't speak up at all because they're like, whatever, fuck it. I'm going to live my life. I don't care what anyone else does. But I think in times, where it gets too extreme, we realize you have to.
Can I lay out a case for you for why this has all just gotten too ridiculous and it has real tangible effects on our society? Okay.
Can you show them your chapstick? Because now you have me like thinking I have second-rate lips. Mike said he had to put chapstick on before we started. Put it on. Show him how you put it on. And then now he's like, when you have big luscious lips, and so now feel like I have second-rate lips. I'm gonna have to get get like the LA thing, or
that looks so horrible. Please never do anything like that to your face, because literally those women look like dust.
I know. I don't know why they do that.
I won't. That's a whole nother topic. We'll talk about that next week or something. But listen, do you know that the number one job for non-college educated women in this country is waitressing? Okay. Some stats came out today that I found very interesting as I took my kids to school and listened to my talk radio. Do you know that restaurants and service-related companies are literally the number one companies going out of business behind the COVID epidemic, right?
Oh yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Because they were all shut down, all of them.
Right.
Everyone else could be going in strip clubs and liquor stores, but not restaurants.
Yeah, but you can't have a buffet anymore at the strip club, so it's a problem.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah, but just saying, not that I ever go to strip clubs, but listen, they now have statistics that actually show who are the most profoundly affected negatively by COVID, and also who's the most profoundly affected positively. And that's why you have all these pop-up COVID sites, but I digress. We'll go there in a few minutes or something. Do you realize that women, like single moms, are far and away the most adversely affected group of people? We don't even need to break it down racially or anything like that. Non-college educated single moms are being crushed by this hysteria over COVID. And second, do you realize, and I just thought, wow, I was blown away by this, especially since I have a daughter who's going to college literally in less than 1 year. She'll be in college in the fall. Did you know some 70% or so African American college students are food insecure, and not far behind that is Latinos, and not far behind that are whites. So literally, even our kids trying to sojourn their way through college, right? Because most people can't just write checks for college educations, right? So typically, it's on even the young people to get school loans and work a job and whatever they have to do to get through school, right? They are being absolutely blown away by COVID. And guess why? Because most of them get jobs at food-related organizations, businesses. We are killing
our next
a
generation.
whole segment of society. And by the way,
not a whole segment, our next generation.
No, but what I was about to say is that segment that I refer to is like almost the majority of the country. Most people in the country don't have college educations. That's not something that the majority of the people in this country have, by the way. Maybe if you live in LA or New York or Chicago or San Francisco, yeah, almost everybody's probably going to have a college degree for the most part. But throughout most of this country, a college education is a very, very significant and special thing. And we're killing everyone who's not fortunate enough to get all the way through the college system. And I personally, again, I've talked about this on the show, like my level of logic sometimes frustrates me because I just think to myself, like, do we see what we're doing here to people, for some people to get uber rich? Like,
no, but that's what I've been saying from the beginning. At what point are you too rich?
Like, when does it become enough? That's what I would love to ask someone who's ultra rich. And I have no problem with people being rich, but I would just love to know from certain people, at what point do you just say, I actually don't need to make another dollar? And not only do I not need to make another dollar, I could actually formulate a plan to really do some good, you know, in the world or the country specifically. I just don't get it, Nicole. I never thought that I would even consider voting for Republicans. I've told you this, like my whole mindset, and I'm not some conservative right-wing kind of leaning person even at this point, but I am to the point where I feel like, short of like taking a gun to some government office or something like that, the only way that I can speak is to do something radical, which for me would be to not vote the way I normally vote. This is all just really sad and ridiculous.
I'm glad that they finally have stats out on it so people can see, but this is a shit that I have been pointing to from the beginning, and nobody wanted to care. All everyone wanted to say, but 800,000 people. And you know what I think about that? How we have severe issues with our counting of deaths and hospitalizations and cases as well. So there's a whole bunch of shit to unravel there. But even if we have 800,000 people, you are discounting what you're doing to the millions more, right? You are taking away
hundreds of millions more
children's childhoods. You're taking away their futures. They're dying. They're overdosing. They're committing suicide. And
they've
nobody ever,
all
and they
non-essential
still
activities at my kids' school. My kids literally have
while
no
football is going
activity.
on.
No.
While they're hosting, they're going to host
even
a
attend basketball games anymore.
Super Bowl here. They're going to host a Super Bowl.
Which is funny to me because they actually talked about moving the Super Bowl to Dallas because Dallas is far less restrictive. But so I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually thought about that yesterday because the Rams were playing their playoff game last night at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, which was packed to the gills.
No masks.
No mask. 100,000 people having fun, enjoying themselves, which I'm all for.
Which we should.
But I thought to myself, how can anyone with any degree of power or influence not look at this and say to themselves, something is woefully wrong here. We are restricting everybody else from doing anything else except something that affects a group of 32 men, 32 NFL owners that just get their pockets fattened every time they fill up a stadium. How can we justify having fans in the stand maskless and you can't, go
kids
to
can't go to school
local gym? You can't go to, My kids literally have no extracurricular activities whatsoever. And by no, I mean none.
They're all shut down.
0. They can't do anything outside of go to school and come home. Nothing that, unless we've sanctioned it ourselves, like, hey, go hang out with your friends or go to the mall or something like that.
I never would have thought this hypocrisy. And so many people didn't see it in the beginning, right? You know, it was just me against the world, because everybody was scared that this was a plague. I never thought, I'm so happy that more people see it now, at least, but I never thought that we would still have these restrictions. And we're still, you know, in our state, the governor still has emergency decree powers. That means he doesn't have legislative review. He can do whatever he wants, and he does. We're not meant to govern like that. There's total abuse of power. There's corruption throughout the system. I mean, it's going to perpetuate forever because we give everybody refunds in the hospital for a death, for a case, for an event, for a remdesivir, way too much money flowing through a system that will allow it to perpetuate. I mean, think about just the way the whole thing is set up. You know, Biden, this is the episode that Mike and I made an episode that we didn't post yet, but we made it in December, and it was of Biden's Christmas speech to the US. And it was literally about a Christmas of illness and death. That's what his speech was. It was disheartening. It was divisive. It was literally gross. But every one of his speeches is, and I'm sorry if you're a Biden supporter, has nothing to do with Democrat, Republican. It has to do with the fact that our admin is a piece of shit. The whole admin is trash. The policies are trash. And the fact that he would come out and say these every time he comes out, says stuff that doesn't bring our country together, just pushes it apart, really, really gets me up in arms. But the point of that was that we've seen this cycle for 2 years now. Basically, he comes out. So what did he do in December? He came out and announced Omicron, which, by the way, if anybody was paying attention like I was, when Omicron was announced in November from South Africa, the health department there told everybody, hey, we're noticing a new variant. It's like it presents as a cold. We've noticed it in all vaccinated and boosted people. And while it does seem to be more transmissible, it's basically nothing. You're not hospitalized, whatever, right? The vast majority. Instead, so we knew this in November, or people who are paying attention knew this. Our president came on and said it's going to be a winter of severe illness and death. And why I say that is because think about now what we're in. He did that in the beginning of December. And what happened? Everyone went out to test. I mean, the whole world got up in a flurry, right? They thought everyone's going to die. Our schools shut down again. Our schools took everything away from our children again. This all started from him doing that. And it's just perpetuating. And I never would have thought 2 years later, we would still be here in this irrational place, restricting people's lives because this isn't about safety. And there's a million examples I can point to show you, but the very easiest one is just what we are talking about. The fact that you can sit in a football game, and you could have for the whole past year, and they do, college football everywhere, anywhere, NFL, anywhere. They're like, well, they have mask mandates. Yeah, they do. Everyone wears them through the door, then they take them off. Look at TV. Are they wearing masks? No. Probably 10% of people are wearing masks at those games.
I think that would even be real high.
Yeah, maybe less, right? Maybe less. And yet, what people may not realize is that in very liberal cities, specifically like LA and New York City and Minneapolis, and they are restricting life more and more still, even though the same shit happened. Like we're literally going to host the Super Bowl. How many people are going to come to Super Bowl? Do you know? Hundreds of thousands?
Well, I mean, literally the stadium itself, I feel like it holds 100,000, just slightly over 100,000, but it's supposed to, the reason why cities want Super Bowls is because they bring in so much tourism and tourist dollars and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why anybody would ever want to come to Los Angeles for tourism. Maybe it's just because I'm from here, but I just don't see like why you would ever spend tourist dollars here, but whatever, I guess going to Disneyland and so forth. But yeah, well, that's why people want the Super Bowl.
That's just the thing. That's the hypocrisy of this that people are starting to notice, but it's literally been here from the beginning. And that's when people say, oh, this is about safety. It never has been. It's been overblown, exaggerated completely from the beginning, and it still is. And that just boggles my mind. But it's important that we have to point it out continuously, because it's never going to change. And even if it changes, what happens next, right? What's the next one? Oh, there's going to be another variant, right? When people start relaxing again and stop.
Oh, they're already telling you what the new variant is. They've already dropped hints for everyone who can hear. It's going to be the fluvid or co-flu or whatever the hell. There you go, Flurona. They're already telling you we're going to get hit with this hybrid, you know, what do you call it? A variation of the disease. Listen, I feel like, again, having had COVID and knowing how bad it can be, and obviously there are varying degrees of how it hits certain people, but for me it was pretty tough. I've by
the way, I want to tell you, there is just a new peer-reviewed study, huge one out about unvaccinated people who got COVID. Did you get it after you're vaccinated or before?
No. I got it before the vaccines even came out.
Okay, so showing testing that how a natural immunity works, and it shows that over greater than 90%, when they get COVID reinfected again, like when you get a cold or the flu, right? It is completely mild and non-hospitalized and not severe, which is showing the power of natural immunity, which, again, while all this is hypocritical, they've really tried to tell you that there's no such thing as natural immunity because much science, you know, like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, I can tell you, outside of course, believing in God and thanking him for getting through COVID, because like I said, COVID was pretty tough for me. I feel like if I were to ever get COVID again, I would handle it much better, not only because I started working out again after that, and this was 2 years ago now. I started working out and eating much better and all that kind of stuff, did those kind of things. But not only that, but even throughout the process of actually having COVID, I was taking certain things to actually see how my body reacted to it. So at first, you know what I started taking? I started taking ibuprofen because I had read so much about COVID and it being inflammatory and all this kind of stuff. And then I felt like I was feeling worse. And then my wife, who's the nurse, basically told me, like, stop taking ibuprofen because they already know that it actually exacerbates the disease. So you know what I started loading up on? I started loading up on vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin B12, CMOS. And I'm telling you, all of that stuff, I could feel it start working and turning things around inside me. What am I saying with all of that? This is literally a disease. Do you even call it a disease? This is a
virus. It's a virus,
a sickness that can be surmounted if your body is already just relatively healthy. Like, I wasn't, pro athlete ready or anything like that, but I wasn't, the worst shape ever, but I definitely was in a state where I could improve my own health. And I started to make the decisions to do that, and things turned around. My wife and I had a discussion just the other day. It's funny we're talking about this. We were talking about the people that we know personally that have passed away because of COVID, right? So let's just assume this wasn't.
Wait, no, because of or with?
Well, it's with and because. Oh, is it with and because?
Yeah. So like with is like you had a car accident,
but you have a okay. Yeah. Yes, because of COVID.
Actually, because of COVID.
Because of COVID. COVID sent them to the hospital and they went through the ventilation and passed on sadly.
Oh.
Each and every one of the people that we know, and it must be like somewhere around 5 people, okay? Each and every one of them sadly had multiple comorbidities prior to being struck with COVID and were severely overweight people. And love them, God love them, they're good people. They passed away and I'm sad about that. But I told my brother the other day, we were actually talking about all this too. We're literally shooting a bazooka at a gnat. That's what I told him.
Oh my God, that's so true. And my friend said we're making a poop out of a fart.
You know what he said? You know what he said? He's like, did we even hit the gnat?
Nope.
Did we miss? I was like, yes, we missed. We missed with our rocket propelled grenade.
Rocket launcher at a gnat, yes.
At a gnat. The gnat was just too annoying for the country. So we shot a bazooka at it.
That's so true.
This is all so ridiculously overblown. And there was a point at which I started feeling this way, and a big part of me was saying, "Oh my God, you've gone crazy, and you're now going over to the conspiracy."
You're now Nicole.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh wait, did we our DNA? What happened here?" Listen, I am now just resolved to the fact that I'm actually just one of the more logical people in the room, and I'm not looking for black helicopters. I'm not talking about who was on the grassy knoll. I'm literally just saying, can you not just look at the numbers, please? I just want to shake somebody and say, look at the numbers. Stop looking at the big red print they put on the news for you every morning. The 800,000 people have died and X amount of people have been affected every day or infected every day. Literally, just look at the population of our country, how many people have actually been infected, and how many people have actually gotten over it. You don't even have to look at the death rate. Just look at how many people who have actually been infected by it have gotten through it, and you would see that it's like 99.9999. It's just some ridiculously high amount of people. It's crazy. It's crazy how we're treating this, and it's affecting people. That's really my problem. Okay?
Exactly.
Because even I've told you this off stream. I've told you this off stream. My own wife gave her 2 weeks notice at her job because she's like, I'm not getting a booster. I did the vaccine. I did the second shot. I did all that. I'm not getting a booster. I have to go find a place to work that does not require me to be vaccinated or boosted. And which, by the way, she's very lucky because, again, she's a nurse, and there's literally, she could quit a job at 11 o'clock and be working by 12 o'clock. I mean, it's just like that.
Well, and that's a sad state of our country, which is supposed to be so healthy,
Yeah. So thankfully, it's not like we're going to be looking at her being like out of work or something, but it is sad that she's had to leave a job that's literally she could walk to in 15 minutes. It's around the corner from our house. She could be there to pick up kids and so forth. So who knows where her next stop will be, but it's just like this is literally affecting the Moore household. So I'm not just speaking out of my butt or about things I'm not aware of. It's literally affected the Moore household.
Well, yeah, I lost my job 2 years ago.
Of course.
I read this to you last time after we filmed, but I wanted to read it to everybody because there's a difference between pointing out facts and data and science and denigrating deaths, and I think that people correlate those. Like if you point out actual facts and data and science and show that the percentages are low of people that are healthy and young that die, people get very upset and like you are actually talking bad about people that are not healthy or that are older or that you don't care about their lives. Like, no, that's not what this is. It's in effect, you have to pull back and you have to look at the entire picture in order to stratify risk for entire society. You can't just focus on the death from one disease because you can see what happens when we do. 2 years into this, here we are. We're losing a whole generation of children in order to save 85. Literally, the average age is 80 something. It's over the average age of life expectancy to save them. And again, this is not to denigrate them. This is to really look at the facts. But I wanted to read this because I just think this is a good way to just kind of zoom out for a minute. This was a letter from RCMP officer, which is Royal Canadian Mounted Police Officer, right? And he's on unpaid leave because he's not going to get vaccinated, right? He chooses not to. He has served in the RCMP for 21 years. He was forced to resign over the vaccine mandate, and he penned a letter to his bosses. And here's a part of it, that what he said. He said, at the end of 2020, I became convinced we were all being force-fed a giant load of absolute bullshit. I agree with that. Don't believe me? He says, look at world population statistics. He said, here's a sample. At the end of 2018, the world population was $7.6 billion, 7.6 billion people. And that year, 57.6 million people died. This showed an overall death rate of 0.76%. He said, I know some of you are shocked by this, but yes, 57 million people died of all types of causes in 2018. When you reach the end of your life, you die. And that's another thing that, we've come to realize is that a lot of us have very big issues with the idea or the acceptance of dying, right? It's part of life. It literally is part of life. And the important part is to be as healthy as we can while we're here. But that's not the focus of the discussion ever. Anyways, he says at the end of so that was 2018, 0.76 overall death rate of the world, 0.76%. At the end of 2019, he says the world population was 7.7 billion and 58.4 million died. Naturally, because we had more people reaching the end of their lives, more people died. The death rate that year was 0.76%. Now let's see what 2020 brought us, the year of the pandemic. At the end of 2020, the world population was 7.8 billion and 59.2 million died. The death rate was?
About the exact same, it sounds.
Exactly the same, 0.76%. Yes, that's right. In the year of the
Wait a minute. So for the dummy in the room, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that COVID really didn't have any adverse effect on the entire world's death rate?
Well, let me continue. In the year of the deadly pandemic,
okay.
The world's population grew by 81 million people, and the death rate did not change by even 0.1%. He says the media never pulled back the lens to show this. They continue to show the narrow focus of case counts and COVID deaths, even going so far as to change causes of death so that someone who died with, which I was talking about, COVID in their systems was counted as someone who died of. The Western world shut down over a disease about as deadly as the common flu, and our rights were shut down along with it. And it's very important to point this stuff out, and it's not to denigrate those that died, and it's not to not care about them. But what about everybody else? What about all the hundreds of millions and billions of people that are living? If you're going to focus just on this one disease and this one death, and we know so much about it already, the facts are that the average age of death is over 80, which is above the average life expectancy. Over 90% of people who do die have 4+ comorbidities. Oh, but you don't care about disabled people. Of course I care about disabled people. But the point and the takeaway is that you need to work on your health in order to help you survive these kind of things. You can't ask the entire world to shut down, to lose their freedom, to give away their rights, to stay at home, to lose their job, to not be able to eat, because somebody who is 80+ years old with 4 comorbidities might die. This is the cost benefit analysis we have got to do as a society, and still 2 years later we refuse.
So I have 2 points that I wanted to make. Man, can I remember what the second one was? Well, I have 1 point that I want to make. I forgot what the second one was. I really feel like you need to emphasize that the death rate in the post-COVID world is no different than the death rate pre-COVID. So the other point would be, if you look at all the pandemics that we actually have data on, you know, since man has been able to keep records and so forth, Spanish flu, you know, bubonic plague, all that kind of stuff that we actually know how it affected the entirety of the world. None of those could say that. Those actually killed huge percentages of the world's population, like measurable increases in the death rate of society, which to me says, again, if you would just use logic, take your heart and emotion out of it, and people are gonna die. Just do it for a second for me, please. If you just look at it on paper, mathematically speaking, we are literally fighting something that really doesn't require any battle at all. It requires no battle at all.
Not only does it not require a battle, but the battle is hurting us. We are hurting ourselves with the battle. We are doing more harm than good, battling something that requires no battle and that can't be fixed or saved with said battle.
I remembered my second point. Secondly, and you and I have talked about this off stream, but I want to say this on stream. The doggone CEO of Pfizer was on national television. I believe it was last week. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was last week. The CEO of Pfizer said they are coming out with a vaccine for Omicron. We need to peel this back a little bit, people. Come on now. let's peel the onion in a little bit here. If the guy is telling you that they're coming out with a vaccine for specifically Omicron. Now, this is not conspiracy. You could have turned on any one of the news programs in the morning and seen him say this. This is not some like Alex Jones right wing. This is just what he said on TV, okay? Please just trust me on this, okay? The man said they're coming out with a vaccine for Omicron. If they're coming out with a vaccine for Omicron, why are they pushing so heavily the vaccine that I guess what he's saying is doesn't really work on Omicron anyway? Let's go a little further.
Wait. Before you go a little further, even he also said in that same video that if you have just the first 2 doses, they basically do nothing. He said they're ineffective, but the third dose
you're stealing my thunder from my last point, what I'm going to wrap it up with. Okay. Let's peel back though. Let's keep going a little deeper. Mm-hmm. So if they're pushing the vaccine for a variant that they're saying it doesn't necessarily even work for, what would be the agenda? Because these are not stupid people, right? So that's one thing I'm not accusing them of, is being stupid. I am accusing them of being greedy D-bags, but not
greedy,
stupid.
Corrupt, fraudulent pieces of shit.
So if the same person who sits at the head of the company and says, we're coming out with a vaccine that's going to take care of this new variant, right, is telling you essentially it's not taking care of what's going on right now, but hey, go get vaccinated because vaccinations is what's going to save us all, and it's what you're doing, and you're being a good, community member and all that. I have to assume that what he's really saying is keep our revenue stream coming in, because you're literally bringing sand to the beach. You're not changing anything. What's the point?
And do you know?
Now, lastly, before because I'm going to give you back the floor.
Okay.
Lastly, they are now calling you fully vaccinated at 4 shots. You cannot even get into the state of Hawaii anymore without being fully vaccinated.
Is it 4 for here, or is that just Israel?
I thought it was 4 in general.
At any rate, who cares? The point is just, I don't know if it's for US yet, but the point is, and I want to point this out, because for those who are starting to see and starting to recognize, starting to understand why some of us have been so upset from the beginning, is that you just said it doesn't make any sense because the vaccine doesn't work for the variant that is out. This has been true from the beginning. 100%. We had Delta in the beginning, but the vaccine was made for Alpha. And this has been the same game that we have been playing from the beginning, and we can't win it. The only thing we can do is not play it. And that's why we have to say no.
Tell me if this is true, because you would certainly know this. I actually read an article yesterday talking about Australia, and it seems like they've actually pivoted now, and they have this new saying, let it rip, meaning like, just let it go.
They haven't pivoted. They're still, well, now that they've reached like 95% vaccination across they have decided to open up, because for people that don't know, Australia has basically gone full communist. I mean, they were in lockdown this entire time. They had something like 6 or 7 lockdowns for the last 2 years. They've been nonstop lockdown. Now, let it rip to them doesn't mean like, oh, you're just free and go out. They still have, they built this system now, right? They have QR codes everywhere they go. They have to show, they have to be vaccinated. They let it rip for those that are vaccinated, get to go out and be free in society with their code showing everything everywhere they go. This doesn't mean let it rip like we think it means let it rip. But what is happening and what is interesting is that I could show you there. I can just tell you. So the deaths and the cases in Australia have always been very, very low. And this was before they even locked down, right? And they decided to lock down because they didn't want to end up with a lot of deaths and cases like us. They thought they were better than us. They think, even our friend told us, like, that's just their mentality. They're like, oh, these stupid Americans are so fat and unhealthy and dead, right? They thought that by locking everybody down, they were going to, and everyone gets vaccinated, they were going to save themselves. Data from all the other countries be damned. I would talk to these people I really think Australia has fallen, and the people, you can, when you hear them talk, defend these policies, defend their government, defend their fact that they haven't been free for 2 years, defend the people that want to be, chastise the people that want to be. It's really bad. Like Australia is a place I don't ever want to go anymore because of this. But now that they have let it rip and they're all vaccinated, cases are basically 100 to 150,000 a day. Basically, if you compare per capita or whatever, it's way more than us, right? They didn't understand, even though all the data from the other countries showed them that this vaccine isn't stopping transmission. It isn't stopping infection. It isn't. They're like, well, we'll just stop deaths because that's all we have left right now is the vaccine's going to stop deaths. What if we find out next year that it doesn't stop deaths either? You know, that's the problem. And we know excess deaths are still up. We know that. We went into this in 2020, saying, well, excess deaths are so high. And so we decided that was just COVID right away. And that's what all this hysteria was about. Well, the crazy thing is in 2021, even not discounting COVID deaths, not counting those, excess deaths on top of those are still astronomical. They're higher than in 2020. So what are we doing? And this is what I mean about data analysis and logic and rationality. And there is none. There is none. And the worst part is there's none from our policymakers. There are very few. And unfortunately, they're all fucking Republicans that are actually like, hey, listen, this is not what the data says. This is not, we are not going to shut down civil liberties for this, for a product that does not stop transmission or does not prevent infection. This doesn't even make any sense. And yet here we are, still ruining future generations for it. But so Australia, yeah, they let it rip. Now they thought if they could just hide from the virus forever. It's not how it works. Now they're out with tons of cases. I'm sure they're going to have in the next year some mass awakening amongst their people, I assume, because they're going to be very fucking mad because they gave up willingly. I didn't give up at all, right? And some of us didn't, and some of it, but their whole country pretty much gave up willingly their lives because they thought that meant they were going to be saved, and they're not. Now they're letting it rip, and it's ripping, and that's what's going to happen everywhere. And that's why it has to be the discussion about, number one, health. You need to be healthy. Drink your water, stop drinking alcohol, stop eating fast food, eat vegetables, take your supplements, and early treatment. I mean, it's just so damn corrupt and fraudulent that we haven't even discussed early treatment yet. All the data shows that you need to hit it hard early. You have to have your supplements, your drugs that I can't name because otherwise it'll be censored, which is, again, what the fuck? Not our president, not our leader, none of them. All they do is point to vaccination that's not fucking working. Like, oh, but it's preventing death. Sure, if you say so, great. But it's not saving people's life. There've got to be more treatments. You can't just say, well, you should have been vaccinated. You don't do that with any other illness. Like literally hospitals send them home until they get to the point where they're almost dying. Then they do need a vent. And once you're on a vent or on remdesivir, the odds of you surviving are very, very low.
Yeah, your death chances go up exponentially.
But so that's why it's just it is the entire COVID story from top to bottom and all the way around is terrible, and it has caused so many deaths. Like COVID itself didn't cause it. Our government caused this. Our policymakers caused this. Fucking fraudulent pharma caused this, and we all let it. Not only did we let it, we clamored for it. Like, yeah, you have to get vaccinated, and we segregated ourselves about it. And like, what are we doing? There's a simple way, and there's simple, like Prader Udesh in India, millions of people, very poor, living in slums. They beat COVID. You know how? Everyone went tested, and they sent them home with a packet of the drug that starts with an I, with supplements, with zinc and quercetin, and it's fucking gone. And it's gone. And we still in this country have not talked about an early treatment protocol. Still in this country, in some hospitals, if you get COVID so bad and you have to go in and they treat you, they want to treat you with, I don't want to say this. I don't want to say they want to. I don't want to insist that hospitals are fraudulent. However, they get huge benefits, like $37,000 if you go on a vet. They get another some thousands of dollars if you take remdesivir. If you die from COVID, they get like $9,000. I mean, we're creating this perpetuating system that it just initiates more fraud. It's disgusting. But anyways, even if your family member happens to have COVID and you go to a hospital, some refuse to treat them with the free drugs that I cannot name. They refuse. They've had to go to court and have them sued in order to treat their family with the free drugs that cannot be named that then save their lives. It is, this entire 2 years has been a huge shit show, but really what makes me very sad right now is that we're still here. That like, I feel like more people are starting to see, but a lot more need to. A lot more.
You know what I feel even more than being sad that we're still here, because I guess, again, I think I kind of saw it anyway that we were going to be here, is I feel fear about where in the world will all this go when there really is something to be worried about.
Well,
that's what scares me. Like, I'm pretty sure we're going to see tanks rolling down the streets at some point, and armed U.S. military personnel, because, like, can you imagine if there was actually a disease that was, but then again, maybe on the flip side, people would just want to stay in their houses anyway because they know there's something that's killing everybody.
That's what I think. That's what I think. If there was actually a disease, none of this would happen. I mean, none of this reaction. I mean, everyone would be hiding. The government would be involved. I mean, because there'd be no money coming out of it. So we would actually all work together to really help save ourselves. We would actually be all in this together if there was a real threat. I think the biggest takeaway out of this to understand is, number one, everything that's said about it is fucking false. It's all lies. It makes me think about our history and what we say about prior pandemics. I read something about the 1918 Spanish flu and how actually a lot of people didn't die from the flu. You know what they died for? Bacterial pneumonia from wearing masks all day. I don't know. It's unsubstantiated. I just read that. Apparently Fauci knew about that, but that's where I read it. It makes me think about the history that we know about, right? These threats that we've gotten told to us that may or may not be. We know that, in plagues in the past, those were in very unsanitary conditions, right? We have running water now. We understand. I think we have a very broad understanding of the basic tenets of health. I think we all do, and we're there now. We're to the point where we're trying to fight nature, thinking that we can just inject ourselves with health when we have everything we need. That I believe, even some massive plague comes again, people who are very healthy, I think a lot of them can live through it. I don't think it has to be this worry that, oh no, we're all going to die. I truly don't. And even if it were going to happen, again, it's like seeing the nuclear coming, like, what's the point of worrying about it? Like, how is that going to help you? We spent 2 years in this elevated stress zone, and it's done fucking nothing for society except make us worse human beings, worse society members, worse citizens. Like, we've got to stop. Like, we've got to start using our actual brain, like get out of that frontal cortex limbic area and like move to the back of our brain, stop the stress, take a deep breath, figure out life. Like, I know there's people in my life that still on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and they're just like, I'm so stressed, I just don't know what to do because my kids can't get vaccinated. And I'm just like, they still think that they have to, that their kids are going to die if they don't. And this is a stress that they're living with every day because they believe when the media has told them this or their government has told them this, and it's just so verifiably false. And but it's going to perpetuate forever until people start to learn the actual truth.
Sounds like a mic drop to me. I'm over it.
Oh, before we go, should we talk about, since it was just MLK Day yesterday, I was asking you if you saw what Biden said, and you said no, and I can't believe this. You do have no idea what he said?
I have no, Nicole, I stay out of it. I stay out of the news. I really do. But go ahead. I would like to hear.
So
you say, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. He said that again.
He said so many. I mean,
when he said that, I was actually listening to the show that he was on live, by the way, when he said that. And I was like, oh, he's going to catch some stuff for that.
This is from Newsweek. It says, as the nation pauses to observe MLK Day, a video of then presidential candidate Joe Biden saying George Floyd's death had a greater global impact than, so this must have been last year. He was saying this, right? He made the comments in June of 2020. He said, George Floyd's death had a greater global impact than the assassination of Dr. King. It's like, wait, what? What? How? What? I mean, George Floyd's death
Hold on. You know what? In fairness to that, and I am no Biden apologist in any way, shape, or form, because I'm probably not voting for him. I'm almost sure I'm not voting for him in the next election if he runs. I can see why that could be a legit statement, and I'll tell you why. Because Martin Luther King's assassination profoundly affected the United States of America, and then his legacy sort of gained momentum and his message gained momentum around the world, whereas the protest and upheaval that took place after George Floyd's death was instantaneous and global. And I think it's because of social media and the fact that that information is instantaneous. So if King would have been in the same scenario where we could get on Instagram and Facebook and and everybody would have known that day and would have known who he was and all that, then I think that statement doesn't hold water. But in fairness to the statement, I think it's probably true.
In fairness to what he's saying, and he did mention it's because cell phones and media, and right. That is true. But the idea to relate it to like there's no way if MLK was around today that there would be anywhere close. I mean, he was inspiring and hopeful, and it makes me think of like the George Floyd thing. It's such a completely different light, it's
profoundly different. I mean, Martin Luther King's legacy will be something that exists throughout the annals of history, right? Until men just don't exist anymore. George Floyd's death and the upheaval and maybe some of the positive things that came about because of it will probably be remembered to an extent, but it won't go down in history. He won't be lying in state next to Martin Luther King, because it's just two very different lives that were lived. Martin Luther King is more, this is Michael Moore's opinion, not anything that I care that anybody else said, but Martin Luther King sacrificed his entire life to sort of get to the place where his assassination meant something, if you understand what I'm saying. George Floyd's killing was we were profoundly affected because we watched a man lose his life on national television with someone who was so very nonchalant about how he was taking this life. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't so important whether George Floyd was a drug addict or if he was just a non-productive member of society. However people want to see him, it doesn't matter, or see him as a hero. It doesn't really matter. It wasn't his life that made the profound effect on people. It was his death. Mm-hmm. Martin Luther King's life profoundly affected people all across the entire globe, mm-hmm. right? And his death was actually just sort of anticlimactic. It was kind of like, this is horrible. You would assassinate a man of such high character, but you focus on his character, whereas George Floyd, you actually focus on his death. Mm-hmm. So I would disagree with Biden, but I can certainly understand why he said it. I mean, he said a lot of ridiculous things over the course of his political life. That's probably not in the top 10,
Well, that's the sad truth of that, because, we're still in the winter of severe illness and death. So
when he said that, I was like, this is Game of Thrones, dude. Winter is coming. Like
well, and that's just a thing that, and like you say, everyone has to think for themselves, but people aren't, and so they're gotten wrapped up in this hysteria, and I just like hate to see now that it's dying down a little bit, even though our schools still are losing, our kids are losing everything. I just hate to see, like, if this fucking happens again, and if there's another variant and they do it again, I'm going to flip my shit.
Dude, if they cancel my little girl's prom and grad night,
it's still on?
It's still on for now. But if they cancel that stuff, I promise there's going to be an episode where I literally am just going to be crying the whole way through. I will be so brokenhearted for her and for me and my wife, and just like, this is our firstborn, and
It's her last year.
Oh, it would just crush me to no end if she couldn't put on her dress and go do her prom and go to her grad night, do her baccalaureate, and actually have a graduation where she walks across the stage and all that good stuff. Dude, I would be devastated. It would almost probably be akin to feeling like a loss in my family, like a death almost. I mean, probably not that, that deep, but it would feel bad for a while. Like, yuck. I mean, even just my son not being able to do an 8th grade graduation a couple of years ago. When COVID first hit, Moses missed out on his 8th grade graduation. And I remember like yesterday, my 8th grade graduation, by the way. I remember it. I remember the house we went to after for the party. I remember all my little friends. I remember all of that, being so excited to go to high school. Yeah.
We're done. We're done with it. It's time to get back to logic. God
damn. It's time.
All right. Well, we didn't even really we got to Australia for a minute, but we didn't even get to Djokovic. I mean, did you watch all of that? And see the Australian Open.
I watched it from afar, and I actually thought it was going to go another direction. I thought because of his privilege and who he was and all of that, like it was going to win out.
Well, the sad thing is, so I actually, read all the behind the scenes stuff. So of course, what you're seeing in the media are a lot of opinions and biases, and what you're hearing from are people that live there who say, basically, the rules are the rules, and that. But what a lot of people don't realize is he complied with all the rules as told to him before getting there. Right? They told him he had to have so much different paperwork. He had all these tests to prove things. He had everything that they told him he needed. He did. So now he gets there, and then they do this to him once he gets there. So to say, what everyone's saying is, well, he should have listened to the rule. Well, he wasn't trying to get a certain exemption. Yeah, he's like, fuck you, I'm not going to get vaccinated. Yes, he did. And that's his choice. But he didn't come there with privilege saying, well, I'm just not going to get vaccinated. I'm going to come play anyways. He came saying, well, I have had COVID, and they gave him an exemption. They gave, including working with the Victorian Department of Health and the U.S. Open, everything, right? There's transcripts of him talking with. So then when they held him, by the way, like a fucking criminal. Like, he did everything they asked him to. Then they basically arrested him, held him from like a criminal from midnight to like 7 a.m. They're like, we want you to sign this piece of paper that says, your visa is retracted. He's like, no. He's like, I did everything. I said, why? Like, why? Well, because the federal government did not give you permission to come. He's like, I didn't know that I had to get permission from the federal government. I went through Victorian government. They told me this is what I had to do. And then I went through this, and then I did that. And I brought all this paper. I did everything you asked me. And this is actually in the transcripts. Right. And so I think it's the game. Like we said, like I told you before, this is a game, and it's a very big game. It's a worldwide game, and we can't win. We can't. I mean, look at this guy, right? And the sad thing is that most people don't know they're playing. And the only way that we as individuals can win is just by not playing. And so many people are playing, and they're clamoring, and they think it's great. And like, yeah, and they fucking hate Djokovic because he tried to skirt the rules. And it's really, really sad what we've become. It's really sad to me that this whole country thought that this was what you should do to this guy. They didn't just do it to him. They really made a show out of it. Right. I mean, that's how you know that it's very hypocritical in a political game as well.
Well, what I think is funny is, like Kyrie Irving's playing again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. New York's letting Kyrie Irving play. I mean,
are they letting him play in the state yet?
Yeah. But what has to happen is the Nets pay like $1,000 fine every time he plays. Do you realize what $1,000 is to the New? It's literally like the amount of COVID deaths. It's like
remember
1% of 1%.
when I told you that this would happen? Do you remember? And you said to me, "Oh no, it shouldn't," but this is it. It is hypocritical. It's not about health. This is war games. This is war games, and it's not against another country. It's against we the people, and we won't fucking wake up and see it. And it is really bad. Really bad.
Well, we ain't gonna wake up and see it until we stop dividing ourselves from within. They do enough to divide us, and what we do is even worse than what they do in terms of
and that's all we can do is we can't control this 0.2% of the world that's attempting to control us, that's playing this game, right? We can't control them, we can't change them. There's always going to be some bad guy out there trying to do some bad shit, but we can control our reaction and how we handle ourselves, and we are failing miserably at that. And that's basically the game, is we have to get the truth out, we have to see it, we have to hear it, so that we understand what's going on. Because once we understand fully, then none of this shit can happen to us, right? That's the problem, though, is that the vast majority of the shit out there is not truth, it's not right, it's lies, it's fraud, it's corruption, and until everybody realizes that, we're still going to divide ourselves. We're going to create, everything that they say is just another way that we divide ourselves, and it's bullshit.
I think it's like laughable when they will, run out a CEO of a pharmaceutical company to give us information on what's going to save our lives and what's good for us. And all the people listening to this person that are trusting this whoever, person A, are the same people that will be like, I wouldn't even sit down and have a drink with someone in the pharmaceutical industry. They produced OxyContin, which killed everybody on the East Coast and worked its way out here. And somehow we think that the modern day or the newer sort of CEOs and heads of these pharmaceutical companies are somehow like have more integrity,
benevolence,
are better people. Like, are you kidding me right now? We're listening to pharmaceutical company executives. We're getting information on our lives from pharmaceutical company executives.
Well, and not just that. I mean, that's exactly it, right? That's what has happened to our medical system. Is we've become so far up the pharmaceuticals ass that, and it's hilarious. More hypocrisy, right? I mean, I thought it was bad enough that Fauci's leading policy decisions for a country when he very well could be the one in charge of creating this virus in the first place, right? So, and that's still in, interviews and figuring all that shit out, investigation.
Trying to get this episode taken down.
No, it's actually they have Project Veritas, which showed actual documents that show that this shit, right? Nobody even cares. Veritas. Nobody even cares. But then on top of that, so that if that isn't conflict of interest enough or hypocritical enough, now we have the CEO of the company that is that makes the product that our world is mandating that we take, giving us advice on how we should take his product, and we're fucking listening.
But you know what's ironic about all this, Nicole? If none of this stuff ever took place, right? If none of this COVID thing ever happened, and you and I were sitting in the bike right now, just laughing and playing poker, doing whatever we're doing, and we heard about a movie coming out with this plot line, everybody would be like, "Oh, that's gonna be awesome! Like the intrigue, like the pharmaceutical companies and some disease came out of China and they shut down America for 2 years and and everyone had to get vaccinated. Like, this will be the greatest movie plot line ever.
We're living through like some alternate reality. I'm convinced. I'm convinced.
Bizarro universe.
Bizarro world. Clown world.
The multiverse. Seriously, I'm waiting for Thanos
we are in the metaverse. We're in it. So Facebook said they're making it, but we're already in it. Like, they don't even know.
I'm telling you, Thanos is coming. Thanos is coming. I'm telling you right now. And you know what? I'm ready, man.
Hey, listen. I'm fucking ready for that guy. Like, I'm done with this shit. Let's balls out. Try and include me in the half that you take out, Thanos. Fucking try it. Come on, let's go. I'm ready to use my fisticuffs. Like, I'm ready. Like, let's go.
The world has to rely on Nicole's fisticuffs. We're all done.
I can save at least my children for sure. Like, some people are gonna die if they try to get my children. That's all I know.
I have been punched by Nicole on more than one occasion.
No, not punch. Bitch slap.
Thanos. Yeah, okay. All right. I was trying to make it a little harder for myself, but okay. And Thanos is much tougher than me. So I don't know. I hope we can have some dialogue with Lord Thanos. I hope we don't have to actually fight him.
Oh, I'm gonna fight him.
Okay, me too. Me too. I'll be right behind you. You'd be like, Mike, I'm right.
He's gone, just gone. No. That reminds me, on Cobra Kai, we just watched the episode where they're trying to learn from each other. Now Daniel's son and Johnny are trying to work together now, trying to learn from each other. And so Johnny was teaching him how his karate style, which is, strike first, right? Not wait. And then so then he gets him in a fight with the hockey players, and then he takes off. And so Daniel fights all the hockey players, and then when he's done, of course he kicks all their ass because he's badass. And then when he's done, like, Johnny comes walking in with a pretzel, like, hey, that'll be you. We like just walking back with a pretzel, like, hey, how was it? Like, you okay? Or what? How was Thanos?
By the way, I'm fully team Johnny. I love him so much more than Daniel LaRusso.
I think they purposely,
so annoying.
Well, they purposely, made many levels to this, which is nice. A guy trying to clean up his life, and events of his childhood really affected his whole life. And we
didn't know all that about Johnny. We didn't know all that was affecting him.
No, but I mean, also choices he made since then because he lost, and like at some point we all got to grow up and figure that out, and he's doing that. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I think a lot of culture could use that message. We all got to figure out our own lives, and ain't no one gonna save us. We all want to be saved. We all want the government and God and somebody to fucking save us, and nobody can. You gotta this is one quick, beautiful, wonderful life, and that's it.
Well, two things. Yes, I do believe God can save us.
Well, you're talking about in death. I mean, I'm talking about in life, in your life.
No, I mean in life. I'm saying he could, but he doesn't like to, intervene in our silliness like that. Yeah. Second thing is, I would be fully Cobra Kai. I would not be Miyagi though.
You would be Cobra Kai. You would be Cobra Kai. Ooh.
Fully Cobra Kai.
Just breaking arms
first,
and shit.
Strike fast, no mercy, sir. Put him in a body bag.
You're also full of shit. You're full of shit. You would be crying in the corner. You wouldn't even be in either one. Like if someone hit you, first you'd be like, yeah, I'll be Cobra Kai. And then someone like hits you. And why do you hit me? Like,
you know what's so funny about you saying that? There's people who could watch this show and they would be like, what is she talking about? Like, that's not the Mike I know.
They don't know you like I know you. They don't know you like I know you.
Be like, I've seen Mike do A. I've seen Mike do B. And Nicole would just be like, no, that's not really
I've seen I bitch slapped Mike and he cried for like a week. So I don't know what you're talking about.
It wasn't a week. It was like 4 work days. It was not a week. Okay. I am the hardest person you know. That is the end of Highly Uncircumcised.
Yes. We'll see you next week.
If they haven't gotten us.